Hi everyone, I'm Myron Silverstein, the creator of Piano Unlocked. I'm a concert pianist, and today I'm going to teach you how to practice arpeggios the same way I do. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to get alerts when I put new videos up. Also, make sure to subscribe to my email list at pianounlocked.com to get each new tip as soon as I put it online. Not only am I going to share with you the how of practicing arpeggios, I'll also be giving you what I think is really the only arpeggio exercise you'll ever need. But first, let's talk about why arpeggios should be part of your practice routine. If you've already seen my video on how to practice scales, I bet you have a good idea. I promise, they're not just busy work. Arpeggios are a big part of literally thousands of pieces of music in all styles from all times, from hundreds of years ago to something someone is writing right this second. And if you can play arpeggios confidently, you'll be able to play them pretty easily when you find them in a piece of music. In fact, there are some pieces of music that are almost nothing but arpeggios, like the last movement of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, for example. Now, this movement of the Moonlight Sonata is a hard piece of music, and if I wanted to perform this piece, I would definitely have to practice it no matter how well I can play arpeggios. But because I have mastered arpeggios, I have a big head start on this piece. See, that's not so bad, right? Like I say, I'd need to do some real work if I wanted to play this in a concert or make a recording of it, but you can tell even now that the arpeggios themselves aren't going to drive me crazy if I learn this piece. And this is a concert etude by Liszt. Among pianists, the name Liszt practically means very difficult music, and etudes themselves are tricky. They're supposed to focus on technical challenges. And the technical challenge in this etude is arpeggios, with a little bit of hand crossing for an extra challenge. Again, I'd really have to practice this piece if I wanted to play it in a concert, but since I already know the arpeggios, it's more about putting the piece together and polishing my arpeggios in this specific context than it is about learning a whole new skill. Okay, so like I promised, I'm going to teach you how to work on your arpeggios, and I'm going to give you an exercise that covers all of the arpeggios. But first, let me give you a quick overview of what the exercise needs to cover, and then we'll be ready to tackle it. An arpeggio is a broken chord. The word arpeggio comes from the Italian, and it's a variation of the word arpa, harp. So an arpeggio is a chord that you play as if you were strumming on a harp. Or in other words, instead of playing the chords together, like you see on the staff paper here, you play them one note at a time, either from bottom to top or from top to bottom. There are 4 forms of 3-note chords, which we call triads, because there are 3 notes in them. There are major, minor, diminished, and augmented triads. This is something you can learn about in a music theory course, and if Piano Unlocked doesn't already have a music theory course up while you're watching this video, it will soon. The 3 notes in a triad are the root, which is the note on the bottom, the third, which is the note in the middle, and the fifth, which is the note on the top. Major, minor, and diminished triads also come in 2 inversions. The first inversion, which has the third on the bottom, and the second inversion, which has the fifth on the bottom. Of course, you can also make inversions out of augmented triads too, but because the distance or interval between each note in those triads is identical from note to note, inverting the triad doesn't change the sound. So you could practice arpeggios by working on all of the major triads in all of the keys, and then all of the minor triads in all of the keys, all of the diminished and augmented triads in all of the keys, and then all of the inversions in all of the keys. But what if there was one exercise that took you through all of the triads and all of the inversions all at once? This exercise starts with C as the bass note and systematically gives you all the possible 3-note arpeggios beginning on C. The 3 possible major triads first, then the 3 minor triads, the 3 diminished triads, and finally the augmented triad.
That's 10 arpeggios on C. Then it starts you on the triads in D flat, but since the order of chords is so systematic and predictable, you can do the rest of those transpositions yourself. You can download this exercise from pianounlocked.com/technique. Just look for the post marked How to Practice Arpeggios, and the link to the PDF will be at the bottom. I've also included a cheat sheet that tells you the order of the triads in the exercise so that you can easily play them in any key.
So how should you practice this exercise? Well, first, I want to make sure you understand. I'm an experienced concert pianist and an experienced piano teacher, but watching a video is not the same thing as having a live piano lesson. I won't get to supervise your practice or watch your fingers or check your posture or do any of the things that an in-person teacher can do to make sure that you're practicing effectively and safely. And though what I'm about to recommend works really well for the shape of my hand and for lots of other people's hands, I can't know for sure what your hand needs. So if anything you try based on my suggestions puts you in any kind of pain, stop. And know that though I am very confident that this exercise is useful, I cannot promise that you will get professional sounding arpeggios from it. Okay, now that that disclaimer is out of the way, let's talk about how to practice this exercise. First off, if you're not really familiar with arpeggios, spend the first couple of days each week practicing it very slowly. And don't worry about practicing the exercise in all 12 keys. That would be 120 different arpeggios and it would take a ridiculous amount of time. Just get through however much you feel is reasonable to get through, however much you have time and patience to get through, as long as you're practicing very slowly to get used to the way each chord moves to the next. The good news is that unlike scales, which have different fingerings for different scales, in arpeggios, you'll begin every set with the thumb in the right hand, and play either 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, depending on what's most comfortable for you. And when you reach the top, you'll end on 5 and turn around. In the left hand, you'll begin on 5 and then play either 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, or 4, 2, 1, 4, 2, 1, 4, 2, 1. You'll end with 1 at the top and then turn around. So practice very slowly for a few days so that you can get familiar with the patterns of all the arpeggios. You can go even slower than that, just so long as there's enough space for you to really think about and feel really confident in what note you're going to play next and how you're going to get there physically.
Once you've become completely comfortable with the shape and the order of these arpeggios, there are 2 exercises I recommend to help you speed up your arpeggios. One is to play each note 3 times, quite rapidly. This gives you some experience of moving quickly from note to note, but because you play each note 3 times, your brain has 3 times as long to process how to move from note to note as it would have if you were just playing the arpeggio as fast as you can.
Now, I have to warn you, this type of exercise can be strenuous. So if your arms or hands feel tense as you do this, stop and let your hands hang at your sides until they feel relaxed. Don't shake your arms out, just let them rest. Also, as you do this exercise, make sure you're not clenching your arms, tightening the muscles, or using extra motion beyond what you need to press the key. This should feel like a quivery ricochet motion, rather than a struggle. Finally, remember, you're not going to go through the whole exercise. That's 120 different arpeggios. And the goal of this exercise is not to play 120 arpeggios in a row. It's to make you able to play each of those arpeggios whenever they come up in a piece of music. If you spend a week practicing only the ones that start on C, and then another week only the ones that start on B flat, and so on, you will learn all of them in just a few months. And once you've learned them, yes, you'll get rusty if you don't practice them for a while, but the skill will come back very quickly. I'm a concert pianist and I do not play all the scales and all the arpeggios every day, but because I made my way through all of them and really mastered them, if I'm playing a piece of music that uses scales and arpeggios, it takes very little effort to brush up on the scale or arpeggio that I need to play in that piece.
The other exercise I recommend for speeding up arpeggios is this combination of grace notes and fermatas. If you've already seen my video on how to practice scales, you're familiar with how this exercise can help you speed up your scales. And if you haven't seen it yet, you should definitely check it out after this video. This exercise gives you an opportunity to play portions of the arpeggio faster than you'll ever need, while simultaneously giving your mind the time to really think about how to play the arpeggio.
You start by playing the first note of the arpeggio and taking as long as you need to think about how your fingers are going to move, how your arms are going to move, how your whole body is going to move to bring you to the next held note. And then you zoom as fast as you can to that next held note. Since these arpeggios have 3 notes, I've made the exercise to encompass 4 notes of the arpeggio. See, if you begin on C and then zoom ahead to the next C and then the next C, you're not mastering every possible transition that the arpeggio is going to throw at you. But if you play C, E, G, C and then land on E, and then after the E, you play G, C, E and land on G, you're getting experience playing every part of the arpeggio as fast as possible. You can do triplet practice and grace note practice on the same day, or you can do one of them for 2 days and the other one for the next 2 days. I do find it more effective to do this kind of exercise 2 days in a row and then another exercise for another 2 days in a row than to alternate between them day after day. If you do them both on the same day, it doesn't matter which one you do first and which you do second, but make sure to end each day by doing a round of very slow practice even after you feel you've mastered the arpeggio. It's the slow practice that really cements the material in your mind. And the great thing is, once you've mastered these 3-note arpeggios, you can build on them. If you're working on a piece that has some 7th chords and arpeggios, you can practice those with triplet and grace note practice too. You could even add the 7th of the chord into the arpeggio exercise in this lesson and make an exercise for yourself of arpeggios in 7th chords. I hope that what I've taught you in this video will help you play arpeggios quickly, easily, and confidently. Remember, you can download the PDF of the arpeggio exercise along with the chart of the chords it uses from pianounlocked.com/technique. Just find the post called How to Practice Arpeggios and it'll be right at the bottom of the post. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, please comment below this video.
And if it would be helpful for me to work closely with you as you learn your music, please send me an email at myron@pianounlocked.com to set up individual consultation.
Please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell icon so that you get a notification when my next video is up. And also subscribe to my email list at pianounlocked.com. Until next time, happy practicing!